2012 has been an interesting year, which we see a lot of interactions happening between America and Taiwan, such as a recent conduct of the U.S. and Taiwan Sustainability Symposium that was held on the 10th of December. Those events, to a great extent, have helped on improving the relations between U.S. and Taiwan. Hello, I'm Betty Lin from the Chinese News. Today, we're really glad to have this opportunity to come over to American Institute in Taiwan, and we are also having George Heartwell coming over to talk about his first visit to Kaohsiung.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming. I'm Gregory Harris, the commercial officer at AIT, joined by Mark Azua from AIT, our public affairs officer here in Kaohsiung. Today, we're honored to introduce to you the mayor of Grand Rapids, Michigan, who's going to give you some insights on what he's doing here, what he's doing back home, and about Michigan. So without further ado, the mayor of Grand Rapids, Mr. George Heartwell. Please, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming today for this opportunity for us to talk, and special appreciation to Mr. Harris and Mr. Azua for organizing this. The American Institute in Taiwan has been very, very helpful for me during this time that I've been in your wonderful city of Kaohsiung. This is a first trip for me to Kaohsiung, first time in Taiwan, and I might just start by sharing some of my impressions of this beautiful city. I come from a much smaller community in Michigan, in the center of the country, Grand Rapids. And so when I can come to a very large city like Kaohsiung, it's very exciting for me. What I've observed here is that it's a vital, dynamic city with great commercial activity going on. There are more motor scooters than I have ever seen in my entire life. And if I live to be 100 years old, I will never see that many motor scooters again. But what an exciting city this is. Wonderful cultural center. It's clear that the arts are valued in Kaohsiung. As yesterday we visited down by the port, Pier 2, and saw some of the artists' galleries down in that part of town. As I've seen public art throughout the city, it's very clear to me that this is a community that values its art and has a very strong sense of the aesthetic. It's also a city that warmly welcomed me and my colleague from Chicago, who's here with me. I'm visiting with David Ulrich, who is the CEO of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. It's a collection of mayors from around the Great Lakes region, and David is our executive officer. And so we've been warmly received here with help from the American Institute in Taiwan, with help from the city of Kaohsiung, which has been very cooperative with us during this entire time in your country. And then the Sinotech organization that helped to sponsor and put together the symposium that I participated in. The symposium was the U.S.-Taiwan Symposium on Sustainable Cities and Ports. A very important gathering of countries around the Pacific Rim to talk about what sustainability means for us in our cities and in the ports. Grand Rapids is not a port city, but we value sustainability, and we've worked hard for years to make our city a very sustainable city. So let me tell you perhaps a little bit about Grand Rapids and what makes it a sustainable community. As I said, we are a small city, 200,000 population, in a county with 600,000 population. And yet, even this small city has taken leadership in the United States in sustainability. So we're the first city in the United States to be designated by the United Nations as a regional center for expertise in sustainability. We received from the United States Chamber of Commerce the designation of the nation's most sustainable city in 2010. And last year, my colleagues at the United States Conference of Mayors gave us the designation of the lead city in the country for sustainable environmental practices. We are a city on a river, the Grand River, that goes from through the state of Michigan and out to Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is one of 5 states, as I mentioned before we started, in the what's called the Great Lakes region. The Great Lakes contain 20% of the surface fresh water in the world. So we are surrounded by fresh water. In a day and a time in which fresh water is at a premium in so many parts of the world, with droughts, with depletion of water resources, being by as close as we are to this amazing body of water gives us some commercial advantages as well as recreational advantages. Businesses need to be where they have access to water and to fresh water. For transport, but as well as for the production of products. And so we're intent on protecting this asset, this freshwater asset that we have, and have implemented practices to ensure that the water that flows in our river and that flows out to Lake Michigan is pure and clean water. In the last 10 years, the citizens of Grand Rapids have invested $320 million US dollars in simply cleaning the river water so that it is a safe and clean water resource. The result of that investment is that it is a wonderful sports fishing river where we catch salmon and trout and bass right out of the river in downtown Grand Rapids. It's also a place where there is boating, kayak, and rowing opportunities for our citizens, and through the downtown, much like your downtown here along the Love River, which I understand was also a very polluted river and now has been cleaned and is a wonderful recreational resource again. We have walking paths like you do along the river so that people can enjoy the river and get close to the river. Protecting the water is important. Also protecting the air is very important to us, and so we've made a commitment to clean energy, green energy for Grand Rapids. Today, 25% of all of the energy that we use in the city of Grand Rapids comes from renewable resources, wind, solar, and water, hydroelectric power. We have made a commitment that by the year 2020, 100% of the power that we use in Grand Rapids will come from renewable resource energy. So one of the important ways that we're protecting the air quality is by using renewable sources instead of burning coal or even burning natural gas to produce our electrical power. We've also made a commitment to clean air through public transportation. We have a strong public transportation. We're too small for rail, so we don't have a light rail, but we have a very good bus system in Grand Rapids, and our buses are using are using biodiesel fuel, or they are hybrid electric buses. We will start construction in the spring on the very first bus rapid transit line in the state of Michigan, in Grand Rapids, and that line will serve about a 14-mile corridor into downtown from the central city down to the southern areas of Grand Rapids. So all this is to say that Grand Rapids is not only a good place to live, but it's a good place to do business, and it's a wonderful place for tourism. We think we are the most beautiful city and in the most beautiful state in the United States. And I suppose you'd expect to hear that from the mayor, wouldn't you? But the recreational opportunities for tourists are just remarkable. Our beaches along Lake Michigan are some of the most beautiful in the world. White sand beaches, all up and down the coast of western Michigan. The cities are like Grand Rapids are vibrant, exciting places with entertainment and opportunities, as well as great hotels and very reasonable prices, so that when people come to Grand Rapids, they're often surprised that they have all of the benefits of a major city with hotel prices that are much lower than most major cities around the United States, or for that matter around the world. And so we encourage tourism in our area. We have wonderful convention facilities. I visited your stadium yesterday. That's a beautiful stadium where you have concerts and outdoor concerts. Because we have snow in West Michigan, most of our concerts are indoors, and we have a concert venue that seats 12,000 people in an arena for major concerts. Perhaps the most famous performer recently in Grand Rapids was Lady Gaga. You know Lady Gaga? All right. Well, I now know Lady Gaga too, and so we also have sports teams. We have a baseball team, the White Sox, the West Michigan Whitecaps, I should say. The White Sox will let Chicago keep the White Sox. We have the Whitecaps. We have a hockey team, an ice hockey team, the Grand Rapids Griffins. And so sports is very important for us in our part of the world as well. We reach out around the world looking for business opportunities. We have a program in Grand Rapids called The Right Place, which is our economic outreach and recruiting company. They seek to work with in China, Japan, as well as in Europe, attracting businesses to work with Grand Rapids or to locate in Grand Rapids. So we're strong on business, and we look forward to the opportunities to share our business environment with the world. Perhaps it would be good for me to stop talking and respond to your questions now. Are there questions that you have?
你先问他来台湾，觉得高雄的这个环境是干净还是脏的？
So what did it feel like when you first visited Taiwan? How did it feel like it?
Oh, well, I was instantly impressed with how clean your city is, with how vibrant it is, and with how many motor scooters there are.
Have you ever been on the ride of a scooter or a motorbike?
Have I ever?
Yeah.
No, I have not. I've not. Do you? You ride
yeah,
a motor scooter? Yes. No, I feel safer in a car. So, but I was simply impressed with the beauty of this city and the vitality, the vibrancy of this city. So, those were my very first impressions of Kaohsiung.
好，你可以问你的问题了。
Okay. So, what is the greatest things that you think about Taiwan or Kaohsiung in particular?
Well, thank you. It's one of the things I was very impressed with yesterday as we drove around Kaohsiung was all of the new construction, new buildings that are being built in this city. This is clearly a city that is growing, that's becoming stronger, that's becoming more influential in not only in Asia but throughout the world. I had heard of Kaohsiung, of course, but I had never visited, and so now to have seen with my own eyes the strength of this city, I'm very impressed.
In your introduction, you mentioned that there will be some economic opportunity be created throughout this event, this series of events, and then also the partnerships between Taiwan and America. So, what kind of opportunities that will be created?
Yes, this I understand was the third conference on in the Pacific Rim and among Pacific Rim nations on sustainable cities and ports. The first one to be held in Kaohsiung. I believe that what we're going to see coming out of this is certainly more cooperation between ports. We've learned from one another. We had a chance to see some of the environmental practices that are being implemented in the port of Kaohsiung City, and those are ideas that we can take back to the United States or can take back to Japan or Korea and begin to implement in our own ports. I learned about some new sustainable city practices that are going to be important for me to consider when I go back to Grand Rapids, and I hope I was able in my presentations to give some encouragement to people in Kaohsiung to look at some new practices as well from Grand Rapids. This symposium was a wonderful opportunity to exchange ideas between our countries.
So, what makes you decide to choose Kaohsiung instead of any other state to work in this kind of collaboration in terms of promoting the sustainable ports in Asia Pacific region?
That would be a very good question to ask to the AIT, I believe. I was not part of organizing the event. I was invited to be a keynote speaker on the first day and to present in a workshop. But it's my understanding that there is a very intentional effort to bring Taiwan and the U.S. closer and closer together for commercial cooperation, business cooperation, as well as sharing best practices around sustainability. And the American Institute in Taiwan has been very influential in doing that. So I believe it was their effort to bring the conference here to Kaohsiung City.
继续。就那个台湾有没有去那边念书？他们有什么好学校可以念？这样问一下。
So.
他们有公费的。
So each year, as you might be aware, that each year we have millions of Taiwanese people, like exchange students, coming to visit America, or either to study or just go on a visit. So with this kind of partnership and collaboration built out, what impact will be created on all those students?
Very good question. Thank you. It was fascinating for me as I began to meet many of the presenters for this symposium, how many people from Taiwan have been educated in the United States. I met someone who was educated at Harvard University, someone who was educated at the University of North Dakota and Iowa, Stanford. So people are coming to the U.S. and getting an education, and in many cases, then I believe, because of the networks of relationships that are developed even in our younger years when we're at the university. Those relationships, I believe, can make this not only a strong relationship between Taiwan and the U.S., but can, I believe they will help make us a better and a more peaceful world in the long run. I mean,
can you talk about the schools in West Michigan?
Certainly. One of the strengths of Grand Rapids is that we have 22 colleges, universities, or theological seminaries training students that are in Grand Rapids and our metropolitan area. 22 colleges and universities. So they include a medical school training doctors, a law school training attorneys, lawyers, as well as graduate schools in engineering and social work and criminal justice. And then undergraduate programs as well. So we have become, Grand Rapids has become, in the state of Michigan, a very strong center for education. We have 72,000 students, degree-seeking students right now in our colleges and universities.
So from all the news as we have heard about America, like in Taiwan, it seems like they have a really huge unemployment rate currently happening in America. So people here, the Taiwanese audience, they might have heard this about how it's just hard to get a job nowadays in America, and people are unemployed. And what kind of what do you have anything about this? Do you have any thoughts?
Yes. Well, the U.S. has just come through a very, very difficult economic time, a recessionary time. And Michigan is one of those states that was impacted by the recession very greatly. Michigan was the automotive state. I mean, that's where the Ford Motor Company started. That's where we began making cars, and General Motors and Chrysler, all in Michigan. And so when those companies experienced difficult times, our employment was affected in Michigan. I'm very glad to say that that we're coming out of the recession, that things are much stronger today than they have been. I give credit to our national administration, the Obama administration, which made some very, very key decisions and very controversial decisions to invest in the U.S. Economy and the U.S. people, to support the automotive industry, as well as supporting the construction of public infrastructure all over the country. So as a result, we're seeing unemployment numbers going down. We're seeing new job creation going up, and while it is never as rapid as we'd like to see, still, the turnaround has happened, and it's looking much stronger for the U.S. today.
Susan, we are the students from Brisbane, Australia. So you might have heard about Julia Gillard, the Prime Minister of Australia. She recently announced that Australia is going to put emphasis on the Asian country, and they are going to introduce an Asian language to every single school in Australia. So I think it will be. What do you think about this? Do you think that it will be much more helpful for them to learn it, to learn more about Asian culture, and by learning their language and their background?
Yes, I do think so. In fact, I was very encouraged that in our Grand Rapids public schools now, the Chinese language, Mandarin Chinese, is offered in the public schools, so that students can have the option of learning Chinese from a very young age. as Mr. Azua and I were talking about earlier, the younger you are when you begin to learn the Chinese language, the easier it is. I suppose maybe that's true with any language. Children learn much more rapidly than adults do. But I think it's, given the trade relationships between China and the United States, Taiwan and the United States, I think it's very, very important for us to learn the language. I mean, look at you all, how well you know English, and I feel embarrassed that I know no Chinese at all, but you're proficient English speakers. I wish we could have the same thing in the United States with learning the Chinese language. Thank you.
Maybe a couple more questions.
I have 3 questions. One is, in a city, if you want to do something, you need people to support you, and you need people to understand you. You need people are willing to work together and let them think this is their responsibility, not your responsibility.
Yes.
Because now in Taiwan, I saw many people blame the president Ma, but I think we should aware we have the responsibility, not only the mayor or the president. So in your city, talk about your story, how to make people think they also have their responsibility to help you and work together to improve the quality of life of your city. The second question is, there is some professor in the university do some research about something. But in Taiwan, we hope those knowledgeable people can translate their knowledge into practical way to help people to improve the quality of life. So in your city, how you make those knowledgeable people translate knowledge into a practical way to solve some problems.
Thank you.
The third one is talking about what's your idea about the future, what you were to do about the retirement community. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Well, let me start in order with your first excellent question. Thank you very much for asking. I believe the most important role for a leader, any leader, and especially leaders in government, are to be able to articulate a vision for a better community, and to hold that vision in front of people and say, this is what we can accomplish if we work together, and then to be able to inspire people to be willing to work to accomplish that vision, because the leader cannot do it alone. History teaches us that we need to be working together. Now, that doesn't mean that every single person in the city is going to believe in that vision. There are many different visions, but the leader has the responsibility for inspiring people and then working with people to help accomplish great visions for the community. I hope this doesn't sound too arrogant for me to say, but I think my greatest strength as a leader is the ability to hold a vision in front of my people. And so Grand Rapids has adopted a vision for becoming a sustainable community. That is, a community that is economically strong, that is environmentally responsible, and that practices a social responsibility that allows all people to benefit, not just a certain few. Your second question was about translating the intellectual assets of a university to practical application in a community. I'll tell you about our community sustainability partnership. Because when I was first elected mayor, I said to my city staff, we're going to begin doing strategic planning around sustainability and around what we call the triple bottom line, economy, environment, and social equity. And the staff said, well, that's fine, Mayor, but we don't know how to do that. And I said, well, I don't either, but I know there are some very smart people in our universities here who can help us with that. And so we created a partnership that included the State University in Grand Rapids, Grand Valley State University, 2 local colleges, our community college and a private college, the Grand Rapids Public Schools and the City of Grand Rapids, and we began working together to develop a sustainability plan that each organization then could embrace. Today that partnership has over 200 members, businesses, NGOs, other institutes of higher education, and we continue to work together, sharing best practices, encouraging each other, measuring data and reporting out data collectively as an organization so that the community can see what progress we're making around sustainability. And the role that the university plays is a key role in that. They do research for us, for the city, and so we're able to take that research and apply it in practice in the city around sustainability practices. And they also manage, the university manages our sustainability plan. So it's faculty from the university that are doing the data collection and analysis, and then developing the annual report back to the community. The third question had to do with the interface between the city and the elderly population, especially because you had done some good research on your own. Thank you, and know that I have a second job as the CEO of Pilgrim Manor Retirement Community. And so we are a community with and a society with an aging population. Healthcare has extended the life of most of us, and people are retiring and they want to remain actively involved in the community. And so we have organizations like the Area Agency on Aging, which is working with the elderly population to make sure that they have opportunities for volunteer service in the community, that the wisdom that they've accumulated through their lifetime can be applied in the community. And then we have retirement communities like Pilgrim Manor, where when people get to a stage of life where they can no longer provide for their own care, there's a place for them to live and receive care for the remainder of their lives. Thank you.
Okay. I think we'll maybe cut it off. Maybe you can mingle a little bit.
Absolutely.
But we'll just close the program now. But please feel free, if you have a side question, you can
Thank you.
come up and ask.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay.
I'm
Thank
really
you.
glad to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You had.
Will you be able to take a picture with us?
Yes, of course. Of course. Of course.
Because we're just like the students studying in Australia right now, and we're just coming back to Taiwan for a visit.
So you are studying in Australia?
Yeah.
In Brisbane? you
In
said.
Brisbane, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're just working as an apprentice right now, and then we're not sophisticated with all this kind of stuff. So
You were very. Your questions were good questions, and you're all students then. And
no, this is my sister.
this is your sister.
Yeah.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
I'm Carol, he's the mother.
The mother. Okay. The most important one.
I'm very
Yeah,
surprised.
we're just like we were really glad that we had this opportunity to come here and then interview you and have some discussions on the topic of sustainability. And yeah, because currently I'm studying international baccalaureate, which is a diploma. Once I get a diploma, I can go applying universities overseas.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm kind of interested in going there. It's going to America when I graduate, but.
Yes.
It seems difficult, and I have no idea what it's like living out there. So.
Well, We have an international baccalaureate program in one of our high schools in Grand Rapids now, so I know something about the program. It's very rigorous. I mean, I know you're studying hard, and I know Mom is happy about that.
Thank you.